Hello class! Today we are turning in our books to the Doctor Who episode, Amy's Choice. Without any further ado, I'm going to jump right into my likes and dislikes. As always, we will start with my likes and then move on to my dislikes. The first thing I really like is just the concept of this episode. This is really good. I like the switching between two different realities, trying to figure out which one is real. I think that's very fun. It's a good idea. The idea of one of these realities is a dream, but we don't know which one it is, and we have to figure it out. I just like it. I think it's pretty cool. So, the next thing that I really liked in this episode is Amy asked the Doctor, "Oh, should I grab the TARDIS manual?" And he says, "No, I threw it into a supernova because I disagreed with it."
I threw it in a supernova.
You threw the manual in a supernova. Why?
Because I disagreed with it. Stop talking to me when I'm cross.
Very great little scene there. Again, a lot of these jokes don't land for me, but that joke I liked. I liked it a lot. I thought it was funny. Also, I know people that I could see saying something like that, so it's just, I don't know, it's very funny. It fit to me. I liked it. I just think that it was pretty well foreshadowed that the Dream Lord is actually the Doctor, where it's like you maybe don't think about the first time around. However, if I was watching it now that I'm older, maybe I would have thought about the first time around. I don't know. But I think it's subtle enough where you don't think about it the first time around. But then the second time around, you can pick up all the hints it leaves. So that's good. Now, there's one more thing I want to bring up before the most absolutely fantastic part of this episode. And that is the Dream Lord saying, "Your friends, is that what you call the people you acquire?" And I like that sort of idea that the Doctor sort of struggles with friendship, and he's arguing with himself over whether or not he actually has friends, or just sort of people that he just uses for his bidding. And I kind of like the idea that the Doctor is actually a little bit manipulative and does kind of use people. And I like the fact that through the Dream Lord, he's sort of aware of that, and he sort of argues with himself about whether or not he actually has friends. So that's sort of my interpretation or my reading of that line. I liked it. And the most absolutely fantastic part is this line right here.
Drop all of it. I know who you are.
Of course you don't.
Of course I do. No idea how you can be here, but there's only one person in the universe who hates me as much as you do.
I think this is a good line, because I think, for one thing, we're all sort of our worst critic, but also, I think, it just really fits that the Doctor would actually have a internal self-hatred, sort of knowing that, like I said previously, he's a little bit manipulative. Like David Tennant's Doctor talks about not killing people. I think he's talking about in the Time War. I'll put a clip in, hopefully. But he talks about not killing people, but doing something worse, and that's talking people into killing people.
I've taken lives. And I got worse, I got clever. Manipulated people into taking their own.
So I think it is very, throughout all of New Who, the idea of the Doctor manipulating people and sort of hating that capability in himself is very consistent. It's very cool. I like it. I like what it says about the character. I like it. Okay, with that being said, I am going to move on to the bad stuff. The stuff I didn't like in this episode. I was sort of struggling to find things to put in my dislike section. You know, the same thing happened last episode where I just didn't really have anything I disliked. But I have a few things to talk about here. This first one's sort of silly, but I was like, oh, I like Rory's hair.
Is nobody going to mention Rory's ponytail? You hold him down, I'll cut it off.
This from the man in the bow tie.
Bow ties are cool.
Which I think the episode wants me to dislike Rory's hair. That's okay, right? The episode was made with the intention for me, the audience, to be like, oh, Rory's hair is kind of yucky. So anyway, that's my first thing, is I didn't like his hair. There's two things that are sort of more serious of I didn't like them, that like I actually didn't like for what they say in the episode. One of which is the Dream Lord sort of hitting on Amy.
Anything could happen.
I don't like that coming from the Doctor. That just feels weird to me. Like, even if it is like the darkest part of him, I don't see the Doctor as a character that should be doing a lot of flirting, even the worst part of him. So yeah, I didn't really care for that element, but yeah, it's in my head, the Doctor just isn't really a romantical character, let's say. So really, anytime they sort of do romance with him, it doesn't really work for me. But especially just like the sort of weird flirting that happened here, I didn't care for. And the next one, I think probably a lot of people have talked about this episode, have said this, but the ending is sort of underwhelming. I wish that maybe they would have somehow, and I have no idea how they would do this, but I wish that they would have somehow given us some way to know that psychic pollen was an option, like a thing that existed, so we could know, oh, in the end, oh, yeah, of course, it's because of the psychic pollen. I guess, like, I understand why they didn't, because I don't know where you would fit that in there, but it really felt like a unearned plot twist, you know? Like, it just sort of came from nowhere instead of a good plot twist where you're like, oh, that actually makes sense because it was foreshadowed here. So anyway, the ending I just felt was underwhelming.
Frankly, I'm underwhelmed.
Now, I'm gonna move on to my episode ranking. Okay, so this episode, man, I don't know about this episode. It's definitely not the best, but it's not a bad episode by any means. I think I'm going to have to give this 2.5 stars. Let's give it 3 stars. Let's say this one has 3 stars. Yeah, I think that's good enough for this episode. I think depending on like what sort of a frame of mind I'm in at the moment would depend on if I would give it 2.5 stars or 3 stars. Because it's really not my favorite episode, and I kind of feel like it has good ideas that could be used better. So I think it definitely doesn't live up to the concepts it's built on. Like, those concepts could have told a much better story.
Frankly, I'm underwhelmed.
Yeah, so that will be my ranking for this episode. Let's move on to the moral of this episode. So I think this isn't gonna be maybe my best moral I've given, but I think in this episode we sort of see the burden that is on Rory because he doesn't see what Amy actually wants.
Don't you wonder, if that life is real, then why would we give up all this? Why would anyone?
Because we're gonna freeze to death?
The doctor will fix it.
Okay. Because we're gonna get married? Yeah?
We can still get married someday.
You don't want to anymore. I thought you'd chosen me, not him.
So I think the moral I get from this episode is sort of from that where I think Amy should have told Rory that she cared about him and sort of where she was at earlier, but instead she sort of left him to just be in the dark. So I think that's sort of my takeaway from this episode, is that you should just sort of be honest with people, you know, make your sort of where you're at and what you want clear to people, and you shouldn't just leave them to guess or, you know, to try and convince themselves one way or the other, because at the end of the day people just can't know what you're thinking. And yeah, I think that's really the moral of this episode, is that Amy should have said, you know, like, there was a question that needed to happen of like, oh, are we going to just like run around with the doctor for, you know, like forever, or should we actually go back home and get married and live this life? Like, they clearly weren't on the same page, and they could have been if they would have had that conversation. So that's my moral, that's my takeaway. Now, real quick, before you leave, I want to say, if you're a big fan of Doctor Who and how I break it down, I am currently working on a cartoon following a character named Jefferson Strange. Jefferson Strange is the Mad Hatter in a sort of science fiction reimagined Alice in Wonderland. His stories are very Doctor Who, they're very Star Trek, they're very Star Wars. I sort of just want sort of fun science fiction. And the story of Alice in Wonderland, if you like the story of Alice in Wonderland, if you like fun science fiction, if you like hearing my voice, check out my Jefferson Strange animation. It's over on my other channel. I'll have it linked above my head and also in the description box. Thank you. You're fantastic. There's an episode there you can watch. There's an episode there you can watch. Don't forget to brush your teeth. I'm gonna go to bed. I am tired. So, good night. I'm gonna throw this so it can do explosion. Good night. Class dismissed. How much of this am I gonna keep in? All of it. Goodbye. Maybe I should walk away from the camera and just leave the camera rolling for a few minutes so you guys can watch my chair slowly spin around.